good morning. It is a Thursday, right? It's Thursday. It's one of those weeks where the days just feel like they melt into one. mm, it's just one of those mornings. I'm on my second cup, okay? You know it's one of those mornings when you like, yeah, I need another cup here before I get myself going. My goodness. I hope you're enjoying yours. Mm. All I can say is thank you, Lord, for coffee. Just one of the small pleasures of life, right? Is to be able to enjoy a nice hot cup of coffee, especially now that the weather's turning a bit chilly and you just kind of appreciate some of these smaller blessings in life. But it's good to be with you. I hope you're doing all right. I hope you're doing well today as we get underway, or maybe you're watching the recording and you've had your day underway, or it's ending. Folks watch this all different times of the day. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. All right, my little breakfast club is here with me as always, and I just so appreciate each one of you. Silvana, Patricia, Patty. I don't know why I said Patricia, Patty. Jane and Michael, Joanne, Jill. Let's see, Dee. I think I've got you all for the moment. Anyway, great to have you along as always. So we're continuing our journey together to really unpack this whole idea of our destiny in God. And I was so encouraged last night. I happened to watch a video from a prophetic guy that I've been following for years and I highly respect. His name is Paul Keith Davis, and he actually just came out with a video 2 or 3 days ago. He puts these little video blogs out about once a week or once every couple of weeks, and it's all about destiny. And I was like, oh wow, hallelujah. When that happens, you really feel good, because it's like, all right, so clearly this is something that, Lord, you are emphasizing, because I'm not the only one talking about it. But we've been looking at the process that's involved. We've been talking about the seasonality of our lives, that we can experience these different seasons, in each area of our life. We can be in one of these seasons, so that we can be experiencing all the seasons at once, because each area of our life is going to be operating in a particular season. You can go back and watch those. I don't have time to recover that material. And now we're looking at the parable that Jesus told in Matthew 13, where he really lays out the problems that we have when it comes to fully embracing our kingdom destiny. And as I've been mentioning, this parable is about far more than just salvation, as important as salvation is, okay? Jesus frames this within the context of the kingdom, which means it has more to do with how we live in the here and now than our future destiny, with the Lord in eternity. Okay. So in the parable, he describes 4 different kinds of soil and illustrates through that how we can just, have all kinds of problems in trying to live a kingdom lifestyle, embracing the purpose and the calling for which we were created. And so I'm just going to go ahead and read again for you from Matthew 13. This is verses 18 through 23, where Jesus unpacks and interprets the parable for his disciples. He says, "Hear then the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what has been sown in his heart. This is the one on whom seed was sown beside the road. The one on whom seed was sown on the rocky places, this is the one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet he has no firm root in himself, but is only temporary, and when affliction or persecution arises because of the word, immediately he falls away. And the one on whom seed was sown among the thorns, this is the one who hears the word, and the worry of the world and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. And the one on whom seed was sown on the good soil, well, this is the one who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit and brings forth some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. And as we've been saying, fruitfulness, as God, spoke it over Adam and Eve back in the Garden of Eden, fruitfulness is a metaphor for our creativity, the ability that we all have to create something that we were designed to create. And in that creation, we are releasing the very blessing of God into people's lives, into the world around us. So Jesus here affirms the importance of our bearing fruit, of our being fruitful in our life and in our creativity. So, the first area that the Lord is describing here has to do with people who just don't respond to the word of the Lord. He talks about how seed gets sown on a pathway or a roadway where, because people have been walking on that particular area of soil, it becomes very packed down and hard. So any seed that might be sown there is not going to penetrate. It's not going to find a place in the soil with which it can, germinate and grow, and it just remains exposed on the surface of the soil. And of course, Jesus says that the birds of the air come and I guess that must be in Luke's version. In one of the versions, it talks about how the birds of the air come, and maybe it's in the original. Let's see. Seed beside it, and the birds came. That's in verse 4. And so, it's really a picture of a condition that renders us incapable of receiving truth. And I don't know about you, but man, that is really scary. Now, I know that in the original parable, Jesus is describing groups of people who fit into one of these categories. And it's true. That's absolutely true. There's a whole group of folk out there who just, will not and cannot hear the truth, at least at this point in their lives, right? But I believe as well, personally, and you can have your disagreements if you like, but I believe that all of us exhibit these characteristics, from all four of these soil types, that we all experience, we exhibit and experience these conditions in us as we are growing and developing. And the Lord is really wanting to reveal and expose where those areas are. So Jesus, says that the major problem that this particular category of folks or this condition, the major problem is a lack of understanding, is an inability to understand what the Lord is saying. And as I mentioned yesterday, I think it was yesterday, that Greek word there for understand has a beautiful word picture in it, which talks about two competing people, fighting each other. And that's what happens. You have God speaking his truth, and we're fighting against that because we don't believe what God says. Okay? And again, that's why I say that this is something that can happen to us even after we're born again, where we actively fight against something that God is wanting to show us. Now, keep in mind that Jesus made it very clear that there are only two options. Okay? We either embrace truth, which sets us free, or we embrace a lie, which binds us up, which hinders us, which prevents us from actually moving forward. Why? Because we're believing something that our enemy totally agrees with. And so he's saying, yeah, you go. you know, you're, you're not going. You ain't going anywhere because you are believing something that I agree with, right? And so, understanding that that's the major problem, we need to recognize, again, even as born again Christians, sons and daughters of God, what the root issue here is. Okay, so why would I not understand something, that God is trying to tell me? Well, basically, right? Basically, it's because I've decided that I'm the one who determines what truth looks like in my life. Okay? It's a manifestation of human pride in the sense that I am in charge. I'm the one who decides, if I am going to believe something or not. Okay? And if I don't think it makes sense, I'm not going to believe it. I'm just going to throw it away. Okay? And that's just our human pride. And that's why I believe that it's possible for, in certain areas of our life where we actively resist the truth of God because we've decided, that there's something there that I think is what's true. And no, I'm not going to believe anything other than that because that's my choice. That's my decision. And wherever it is that I've made that choice, well, that area of my life or my heart is hard packed soil. It's hard. And so the word of the Lord, the revelation of God, it can't penetrate because I've put up a barrier. Okay, I've created some kind of a wall behind which I'm hiding, saying, no, I know what the truth is, and you can't convince me otherwise. And that right there is just pride. Okay? And so when we look at, what the Bible talks about in that regard, we really can go back to the garden and the story of Adam and Eve. Because ultimately, when you look at the decision that they made, that's what they were doing. They were deciding or choosing to say, well, I want to know what the truth is for myself. I don't want to be dependent on God to tell me what's right and wrong. I don't want to be dependent on Him, to lead me and show me what I need to know. I want to have that ability for myself. Okay. And God said, well, I gave you free will. So if that's what you want, that's what you're going to get. And so when Adam and Eve decided to not believe what God said about that tree and the consequences of that action, and instead decided to go along with the enemy's lie, saying, well, hey, you'll be like God. Right? There you go. That was the first example of the human pride that says, I get to be the decider, the arbiter of what is right and what is wrong in my life. And in effect, what we do is exalt our human intellect above God Himself. It's like, I'm smarter than God. Now, you know what? We don't say that. Well, maybe you do, but I've never said that out loud. But the implication of my choice, that's what it's saying. It's saying that I'm smarter than God, that what I think is what matters. What I think about this and this situation and what I should do. Okay, that's what I'm going to go by. And that, of course, is, so many scriptures, right, Proverbs 16:18 being among, the major ones that caution us against that. It says, pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before stumbling. And I've been there. I mean, I have been there. I got the T-shirt, right? Been there, done that, got the T-shirt. It's no fun when all of a sudden you wake up face down on the ground because you just stumbled over your own stupidity, thinking that you had that all figured out, right? And you have a rude awakening that hurts, and it hurts bad. But yet, that's what's necessary. We need that level of wake-up call. And so, when we are, and here's what's really the key, is that we're usually generally not aware of these areas where we have made these preordained decisions on our part, which says, this is what I believe. I cannot believe, for example, that God would actually want to, touch people through my life, or that I can actually do something that would, be that amazing in terms of creativity. Okay, that's your opinion. But see, that's the root of this problem, is that I've exalted my opinion about things above what God actually says. And I don't think that's a good place for any of us to be. I know it wasn't for me. The times that I, fell into that place of deception where I just thought that I knew what was right. I knew, what I should do and what I shouldn't do. And it took a fall. It took me reaping the consequences of that choice for me to wake up. And God does that. It's actually love, that motivates him to simply allow us to go our merry way until the consequences catch up to us. It's the classic prodigal son story. He went off to do his thing and found out the hard way that was not a good choice. The outcome of that wasn't very good. And so, we're faced with that. We're faced with all of the consequences that come out of decisions and choices that we make because we thought it was the right thing. There's a way that seems right to us as humans, but in the end are the ways of death. That's another proverb. I don't have the reference for it, but it's actually in the Bible. So, oops, almost knocked my coffee over. That would have been bad. My inflated opinion of myself, in terms of my abilities to navigate through life and make decisions, decide what is right for me. That's what God needs to tear down so that he can transform us, right? He can actually work with us. So how do you know if you are experiencing this particular problem in your life? Well, I'm indebted to a brother named John Stanko, who he is a teacher about purpose, and I've been following him for years. So here are some examples that he wrote of when, if you do this, you got a problem with your heart hard in this type of a way, right? He says, you have little or no experience in a particular area, but yet offer your uneducated opinion and then become offended when people don't follow or listen to you. You cannot accept advice and insist on doing things yourself or in your own way, even when you don't have the necessary expertise. You refuse to change your habits, like how or where you work, or you stubbornly resist adopting new technology or work habits. You consistently have little or no results in an area of life, or work, or ministry, but cling to the ways you've always done it, and then get upset when someone speaks into your dysfunction. You believe that You are entitled to your opinion, which of course you are, but then also believe that your opinion is special simply because it's yours. You ignore the input of someone who has walked a path before you, especially when that person has no vested interest except to see you succeed. You remain stuck in an area of failure, but still believe you have the right to give advice or direction instead of listening and learning. Whew. That's an oh me or help me, Lord, right? Because I can see myself in many of those examples over the years where God had to correct me. He had to wake me up and say, son, stop. This is not good. And so, what do we need to do in order to prevent this kind of condition from continuing? Because again, as I've mentioned, we're generally unaware of the areas where we're still struggling to overcome this inherent human pride that we have, right? Obviously, these examples may be helpful on some level, but what about other areas that we're not aware of? Well, I go back to one of my favorite passages of Scripture, which I'm going to look this up because I don't want to misquote. In Psalm 139, we have this amazing prayer that David writes at the end of the Psalm, verses 23 and 24. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxious thoughts, and see if there be any hurtful way in me, and lead me in the everlasting way. See, that's the key. Pride and that hard-packed soil in whatever area of my life, it's hurting me. And it's also hurting others because you know what they say, hurt people hurt people. And so, yes, my God, I don't want any of that. And so we can come before him regularly and just, Lord, please, search me, know me. I need to know wherever there are areas in my life where I have fallen into this deception of believing that I know best, that I know better than you, that I have an opinion about things that doesn't line up with yours, but I nonetheless believe it and think that that's what I should do. Okay? So would you please come, shine your light, Lord, reveal whatever may be hidden in darkness in my life, because I want to know that. I want to know what ways are still operating in me that are going to hurt me and then also hurt people. And he will do that. I mean, he's not, please, he will not blast you, with this huge download of all of your issues. That's just not how he works. He knows what we can handle, and he's very intentional and gentle in the process of transformation. But when we position ourselves like this and say, okay, show me where my dysfunction is. Show me why I haven't been able to move forward in this particular area of my life. He will do that because he is even more committed to our growth and development than we are. And he longs for those days, for those times when we come before him in humility as a child and just say, Lord, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. If you don't come and help me, if you don't bring me revelation and truth and guide me, take me by the hand, Lord, if you don't do that, I'm going to fail because I am failing. I'm not making any progress in this particular area. And once we, come to that revelation, well, then he's free to do everything that he wants to do because we've now basically surrendered. We ran up the white flag and said, okay, Lord, I give up. I give up in this area. Please come and empower me to do what I need to do, what you want me to do, so that I can lift me up out of this, Lord, would you please, so I can do what it is that I'm supposed to. And so that's the key. any areas in our lives where we still have that hardness. And hey, let me also say this, many times that hardness is as a result of how people have mistreated us. We have been mistreated. We've been disrespected, abused, and spoken ill of. And we will put a boundary or a barrier there as a protection, but it also keeps us in a place where we're not forgiving people for what they've done. And that is just such an important part of this growth process, that we absolutely must forgive people, releasing them from what they owe us, right? Matthew 18, that rich guy just ripped up the invoice, the bill that his servant owed him, all that money. And that's what Jesus tells us to do. You don't need to feel it. You don't need to, have any emotion toward the person to be able to rip it up and say, okay, you don't owe me anything. And that's an important part of a growth process that the Lord is wanting to initiate in our lives. So in any areas where, you know that there's been this hardness because of what people have done, you know what you need to do. Lord, show me, because I will forgive them, and I will, ask you to bless them so that I can be free from the effects of all that happened through them. And my family line, my family of origin, all that family line stuff that we deal with. So I hope this is helpful for you. It's a powerful thing that the Lord wants us to understand and really come into agreement with him about. It's just very, very foundational. Alrighty, let's get back up here and say good morning to the rest of you amazing breakfast clubbers that have jumped in here today. Let's see, Linda, Terry, Peggy, back again. Donna, Gloria, Maria, Joyce, Sal. Hey, buddy, it's been a while. Hope you guys are doing okay. Definitely praying for Anita. Let's see. Oh my goodness. I can't pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. Your initials are, it looks like AD, and I don't know how to pronounce your name, but welcome. I haven't seen you here before, and I'm glad to have you along. I think I got you all. If I didn't, please forgive me. Sometimes the names don't show up here. But again, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate that. And thank you for those of you that are sharing this with your friends so that we get a few more who join our breakfast club. Hey, have an awesome day. And I do pray that in your time with the Lord, that you would just experience his amazing love, because it's in that love that this process of growth, which we might think would be so painful, it's just not. We are so immersed in his love that it's so freeing. It's so freeing. So enjoy that today, and I look forward to being back with you tomorrow, 8:30 Eastern. All right, thanks so much.